This afternoon, you're joining us on Market Pulse here at BTVi. Like I said, we're putting the focus on the credit policy, and joining us now on the show is Rajiv Kumar. He's a member at FSRAC and he's a senior fellow at CPR India as well. Great to have you with us. Now we're looking at this repo rate cut by 25 basis points from 6.5% to 6.25%. It comes into immediate effect. What do you make of it, really? What is your key takeaway from this?
Well, I think the rate cut was expected, but for me the most important thing is that that this being the first time that the MPC has been in action. The fact that they came up with a consensus decision, and that there was no rancor and they all worked collegially good and they all agreed to this rate cut is very important, because it shows that all the macroeconomic issues have been, factors have been taken into consideration, and the rate cut has been, and the rate has been cut. So this will promote growth. This will hopefully now give a further push to the investment sentiments, and I hope therefore that going forward, this will help the economy, to pick up.
All right, but Rajiv Kumar, the projection of growth, of real gross value added, that's GVA for 2016-17, that has been retained at 7.6%. How do you feel about that?
I think the RBI is being a bit conservative, but that's okay, because it is not, to raise expectations is not such a good idea. But my own hunch, my own estimate is that it will be higher than 7.6 and closer to 8% as we go forward, because I'm expecting now an investment recovery to start in the third quarter and then continue in the fourth quarter. So I'm quite hopeful that that this will be an underestimate about the GVA rate of growth as done by the RBI.
Sure, but tell me, what's the situation on the ground right now, Rajiv Kumar? If you can put the spotlight on that. What's the growth now looking like at this point in time?
Well, I'm beginning to see a growth in some of the critical sectors like automobiles and also cement and fertilizer. And also I feel that with the normal monsoon, with a good monsoon this year, you will find rural consumption demand growing as we go forward. So that will also give a fillip to the growth, to growth in the economy. And I think with the rate cut that has now been announced, you might find that the demand for housing will probably go up a little more, and that will also help growth on the ground. So overall, I think we are now at the beginning of a recovery of the business cycle, and especially the investment cycle. Which is being reflected at the ground level. The only stick in the mud is the index of industrial production numbers, which persist with rather low single-digit numbers. And there, I think it could well be a problem of their frame, their sample base not having been revised for quite some time now, and that may be reflecting more an outdatedness of the IIP rather than a real slow growth, or rather than certainly the real picture about industry in the country today.
But Rajiv Kumar, we was just speaking to Shanti Kamram of Kotak Mahindra Bank just a moment ago, and she's of the opinion that growth still within the corporate setup has to pick up so that there is that credit offtake. So that's the picture she's painting. What are your thoughts in terms of transmission of these rate cuts? How much do you think that's going to happen? Do you think that the cost of funds is going to ease for corporates going ahead?
I think so, but that always does depend upon the actual liquidity conditions in the market. And given that the RBI, to the best of my knowledge, has not changed its stance for having easy liquidity, it's maintained that stance. The banks should find that they have more room to pass on the rate cut to the corporate borrowers, especially to the good borrowers. And I think the transmission, therefore, should take place now. And I hope that the commercial banks will take this opportunity now to to transmit the rate cut, because they would themselves be interested in a pickup in growth, which will help them, with handling their NPAs as well.
Yes, but still the question remains of the demand for credit offtake within the corporate sector. Rajiv, Kumar, many thanks for joining us with your perspective on what has been announced by the RBI. This is the first that the MPC has come out with by way of a stance, and perhaps the likelihood is that it is going to continue, but that remains to be seen. For the moment, we take a quick break. There's much more coming up on the flip side on this edition of Market Pulse. So stay with us.